Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today on Masechta Shavuot daf Yud Daled. We're going to begin on Yud Daled of an Alpha, about 8 lines from the top, where it says V'haya Asher L'Am L'Hachi Asa. Is it true that we are making the drasha of L'Am for this? We're going to see it's actually for something else. So this goes back on what we saw in yesterday's daf. According to the sheet of Rav Shimon, he quotes the pasuk that Lokach Hashnei Seirim, that we take on Yom Kippur 2 Seirim. One is LaHashem, which is the Ser HaPanimi, and then the other one is the Ser HaMishtaleach, which is LaAzazel. So in this, the Gemara there here said, in yesterday's daf, that we make a hekesh, the Ser HaMishtaleach, to the Ser HaNas Mifnim. The fact that we mention both of them, there's a connection. So Ma Ser HaNas Mifnim, just like the Sari that's LaHashem. Even though we mentioned that a lot of things perhaps do cause a kapara on Yom Kippur, nonetheless, Kohanim are not in that category. In other words, if a Kohen becomes Tameh, and he has Yediyim Etchil Vatsoif, and Misalim Ben Atayim, and he ends up coming in contact with Kodesh, or he enters the Mikdash Tameh, so in this case, the Ser HaNas Mifnim will not be Machap for the Kohen. Why? Because it says Asher L'Am, that it's Dafka for the nation, which is excluding the Kohanim, which is not considered to be part of the Am. Ser HaMishtalech and Machap Kohanim B'Shar Veros. So too, when it comes to the Ser HaMishtalech, it's not Machaper on Shar Veros for the Kohanim. So just like it doesn't work for Tumas Mikdash Gadasha, also it doesn't work for Shar Averis for the Kohen, and it's because of the drasha of is to exclude a Kohen. Okay. So in this, the Gemara says like this: we need it for something else. The that it just means it should come from the funds of the Am. That's supposed to come from the tzibur. That's all it's coming to tell you. We need it for that drasha. How do we get the monies for this item? And the answer is it comes from the So that concept is Ace Adas B'nei Yisrael Nafka. Where do you learn it out from? A different source. So V'hayasher Loi. So you're telling me again that it's coming to tell us this. So when the Kohen Gadol brings, he has to bring the partial Aron. It has to be from his own. It can't come from the tzibur. So that's actually what it's come to tell you. So Yochol Yavi Mishal Tzibor, you would think if he doesn't bring from the Tzibor, Shein Tzibor Mischapen boy, then the Tzibor is not going to be a Mechaper, won't achieve Kapara. Although Yavi Mishal Achava Kohanim, but maybe therefore he should bring it from the Kohanim, his brother, and Achava Kohanim Mischapen boy, so that this way his brethren, other Kohanim, will get a Kapara. Talmud Leimer Asher Lo. No, it has to be his. Yochel Yavi, you would think, don't bring it from anyone else. Havi kosher. But if still he would have gone to someone else, maybe it would still be good. Talmud Leimer Shuv Asher Loi. So it says it a second time. Hakosnev Shana Olav La'akev. The fact that it says it a second time, it is La'akev. Tana Hachi Kakashule. So Maishna what is the reason why that there's no kapara? Because it's not from his funds, and it says Ashel. So mid'aro nami loy kachasri b'mamoina the kun krin beisai, and they're all considered to be part of his house. Now, Bishop Rav Shimon Hainu Dechsiv Trey Viduyin. That's why it mentions Viduy twice. By the par, says Rashi, Umatan Damai, and the placing of the blood. So it mentions we have two vidois. So maybe that is logical. V'dam hapar. V'dam hapar. So one is, again, Bishlam Rav Shimon Hanu Sev Trey Viduyin, V'dam hapar. Chad keneged ser hanas mifnim, v'chad keneged ser hanas v'chutz. So they're for two different purposes. One is for the tsar in, one's the outside one. The chad keneged ser hamishtalech, and also another one is keneged ser hamishtalech. As Rashi points out over here, it says Talmud L'Loim Rasher Lo Hashlishi L'Akev. It actually is 3 times. And the Rashi after that, which could I seeing? It says B'parshal Aron Shahari Kvar Nemar Asher Lo Lemor Sheinu Ba Mishel Kohanim, that it can't come from Kohanim. Givan Sheinu Chasirin Boy Mama, not losing money. Lo Neschaper Boy, they shouldn't achieve kapara. So the Maishna B'ser Hapanimi the Lo Meschaper Bay. Gidalfinim Asher Am Yisera Mishel Do Chasu Ba Mamayna the Lo Nikna Mishel Hem. It wasn't purchased from them. Okay. So again, when it comes to Rav Shimon, there's 2 vidois. One is the par and matan dalmon. So therefore, or as the Gemara says, chad keneged ser hanas mefnim, v'chad keneged ser hanas b'chutz, v'chad keneged ser hamishtalech. Okay. El Rabbi Yehuda trei vidoin v'dam hapar lamui, v'chad vidoi v'damoi sagyo. Says Rashi, V'ika matan damosh hari gimel kaparos l'chapro gimel veros shekohanim mischaprin b'par keneged shol sheveros she'esom mischaprin b'seirim. Okay. V'chad keneged ser hamishtalech l'chaper al sharaveros. However, according to the shita of Rabbi Yehuda, 1 video should be enough. Chad keneged ser hapanimi v'chad keneged ser hachitzoin. So my answer is Echad loy ve'echad lebeisai. Kedatana ve'bishmul kachi midas adin nohegas mutiv yavo zacha v'chapra al chayev v'yal yavo chayev v'chapra al chayev. Says Rashi, Lafikach misvada vidu rishon olav. When he originally does the first video for himself, yal based on his family. He takes care of his own kapara first. Once he already is clean, so to speak, because he did his own personal vidoi, misvada olav, vel echav. Then he could do another vidoi for others, because who is he to do vidoi for others if he himself is tainted? Well, oyom tervayu chada kaparanin, who really they're all considered to be one kapara. Okay, let's look at question 6. Madua hisvada hakoin gadol shenis alapar. Why does the Kohen Gadol give a second vidoi? Varikfar ika kapara kohanim. The Kohen already has kapara. Bedam ubavidui rishon keneged ma shemis chaprin Yisrael b'ser hapanim b'ser hachitzon. So what's the purpose? So either, according to Rav Shimon, the vidui sheni is keneged the ser hamishtalech, because the Kohanim are not mechaper on it al sharveros together with Yisrael. So therefore, we need a vidoi in order to be mechaper for Kohanim on sharveros, because again the ser hamishtalech is only mechaper for Yisrael. And the Rabbanan who say the vidui rishon, it's for himself in order that he should be zakai, and then afterwards he can do a second vidoi for the sake of others. Let's look at question TA8. Bipar kohen gadol b'yom kippurim yesh gimel kaparos shnei viduyin v'dam. Echad keneged ser hanas mifnim v'echad keneged ser hanas b'chutz. Alma hakapara hashlishis. So what is the third kapara? So either it's keneged the ser hamishtalech to mechaper on sheraveros, which is Rav Shimon, or echad loy echad lo echad lebeisai. So that one is for him himself. Okay, so that's TA 8. Okay, fine. Which is really the same question as question 6. TA 8. Okay. TB 9. We didn't do that. So, okay. Hanulach Shavuot Shtayim. Hanulach Shavuot Shtayim. Hanulach Shavuot Shtayim. So we completed the first parak. Now we're going to continue really is a connection to the previous parak about Yedias Atoma. Now we know that when it comes to Yedias Atoma, where you have a Chiyav, as we saw in the first daf, on daf Beis, in order to be able to bring a carbon of Yared, it has to be that there's Yediyah B'Tchila and Yediyah B'Saif, and that you forgot in the middle. Now, it's, as we mentioned, it's Shtayim Shehin Arba. So, what exactly happened? So, what ended up happening again is you are Tameh, and you forgot that you were Tameh, and that was the halama, that was the forgetfulness. And while you were eating the kaidish, you forgot you were Tameh, or when you went to the mikdash, you forgot you were Tameh. So, Shehin Arba, which means that you're Tameh, which means that you actually knew you were Tameh, but you didn't realize that this was Kaidish, or you didn't realize that this was the Mikdash. Nitma v'yoida, let's say you became Tameh, and you knew about it, v'nis'almi mimena hatoma, and it becomes you forgot it, v'zochar as a Kaidish, but you remember the fact that it's Kaidish, nel mimenu hektish, it's forgotten the fact that it's hektish, v'zochar as a toma, but you remember that you're Tameh, when it's alma mimenu, and you forgot about it. Let's say while you were eating you didn't know, or after you ate you knew. So these are all cases where you're going to be chayev to bring a carbon or a yared. Nitma, let's say you became Tameh, v'yoida, and you realize that you're Tameh, when it's alma mimenu, Toma, but you forgot that you're Tameh. V'zachar a mikdash, you remembered it's a mikdash, but you forgot that you were Tameh. V'nelu mimenu mikdash, or let's say you forgot that it was the mikdash. V'zachar Toma, and you knew it was Toma. Nel mimenu zeh b'zeh, let's say you forgot that you were Tameh and that this was a mikdash. V'nichlas a mikdash v'yada v'mishiyatzi yada harizeh b'av yared. Okay. So again, all these permutations you have to know about. You have to have Yedias Atoma at the beginning, in the end, and then in the middle there is forgetfulness. Either that you forgot that you were Tameh, or possibly you forgot that this was Kaidish, or you didn't know it was Kaidish, even though you may have knew that you were Tameh. Okay. Echad hanichnas la'azara, v'echad hanichnas l'tois ha'azara. Whether you enter into the Azara or the additions that were added later on to the Azara, there's no difference. The din still is the same. Shein meisifin al ir ve'al hazaras el b'melech v'navi v'orim v'tumim v'sanhedrin shel shivim v'echad. As we saw in Sanhedrin, that this is not just stam done. It has to be done in a certain process, and therefore it takes upon itself the status of the Azara. And that's the reason why you need to have a king and your navi and consulting the Urim Tumim by the Kohen Gadol, and the Sanhedrin has to be involved. V'shtei toidos and 2 todos, and the Gemara is going to explain shnei lachmei toida, 2 breads. The hayu nois and oiso behekav saviv, and they carried around. Uvashir, and with some type of song. The Gemara is going to explain what that means. Based in Mahalchin, based in goes, the state toidais achran, with these 2 toidais karbanos behind them, and everyone behind them. So it's a whole procession. But again, the point is that once this happens, so therefore it takes upon itself this status, and therefore because of that, if you enter into even the additions, that also is going to be problematic. Okay, and you'll be chayv no b'yared. Fine. Again, assuming there's yediyah b'chiv asayif. Okay, Yudalid Omid Beis. Hapenimis nechelas, the inner breads, which the Gemara is going to explain what this means, can be eaten. V'chitzayna, the outer ones, nisrefes, will be burned. Again, this will also be explained. B'chol shloi nasis b'chol elu, anyone who doesn't do any of this, hanichtas l'sham enu chayv l'el. Someone who enters there was not going to be chayiv. Okay. Again, we're just reading the words. We're going to understand this Mishnah better when we get to the Gemara. Nitma ba'azara. Let's say a person taka became tummy in the azara. When alma mimenu tuma, and he didn't realize he was tummy. V'zachas hamikdash. He remembered that he knew that he was in the mikdash. Nel mimenu mikdash. Let's say he didn't know he was in the mikdash. V'zachar tuma. Remember the tuma. Nel mimenu zevazeh. Let's say he didn't know that he was tummy or in the mikdash. He did a voda there. The Gemara is going to explain exactly what that measurement of bowing is. The time for bowing. If he took, let's say, a long path out, so then he would be chayiv. If this happened, he became tamei, mamish right there, and he didn't bow, he didn't delay, he just went out the fastest way out, then he's potter. Zuhi mitzvah saseh shiba mikdash. This tumah which a person encounters in the mikdash, in the azara, this is considered to be a mitzvah saseh. Says Rashi, Yishkan mitzvah saseh v'yishachu min hamachna v'chol tamil nafesh. So it's actually a kiyum of a mitzvah saseh. Shein chayavan aleha, that a person will not be chayav. As Rashi says, based in par b'hayra. If the based in paskin incorrectly, you're not going to be chayiv in this case to have to bring a carbon. As Gemara is going to explain. Ve'zuhi mitzvah saseh shibe nida shechayavan aleha. What would be a case of a nida? You would be chayiv kares, or in b'shageg you'd be chayiv carbon. Hay mishamish im hatahara. Let's say she's mishamish with. Let's say he's mishamish with a tahara. The amrulo, and she says to him, nitmesi, I actually became tummy. He piresh miyad, and he separates immediately. Chayiv. He's still chayiv. Mipnei she'etziyaso hanoi can be also, because his exiting the woman physically is the same hana as entering into the woman. So there's the motion, if you will, of tashmish. There is hana also upon leaving the woman, say as respectfully as possibly, and therefore because of that you're chayiv because you already knew that she was tamei. Okay. Rabbi Lezer Oimer hasheretz v'nel mimenu al he'elim sheretz chayiv. Let's say regarding sheretz, a person can also become tamei. He forgot about it. So he's chayiv also have to bring a carbon. Ve'enu chayiv al helam mikdash, but not when it comes to helam mikdash with regard to a sheretz. B'kiva oimer v'nel mimenu v'hu tamei al alam tuma chayiv inu chayiv al helam mikdash. Okay, so that's his drasha of Rabbi Akiva, and the Gemara is going to explain what exactly is the difference. It sounds like they agree. And then Rabbi Shmuel oimer v'nelam shnei pamim. It says it twice. L'chayiv al elam tuma ve'al helam mikdash. Okay, let's see the Gemara. So again, as we've been seeing, we saw in the first parak, it's a very, very long Mishnah. So to here, and it's going to take multiple dafim to get to the explanation of everything we saw. Says Gemara, Amar Papa Labai, Shtaim Shein Arba. So as we said, there's two cases of Yedias Hatoma, and it really is four. So again, either the person knows that he is Tameh, but he doesn't know that it's a mikdash, or he doesn't know where the mikdash is. Let's say he doesn't know it's a mikdash, and he doesn't know it's Kaidish, or he doesn't know that he's Tameh, but he know at the time Nel Mimenu of Tuma while he was eating Kaidish or in the mikdash. So he says Shtaim Shein Arba, Shtaim Shein Sheish Havin. The taka should be 6, not 4. Yedias Hatoma Tchil v'Saif, because there's Yediah at the beginning and the end. Yedias HaKodesh Tchil v'Saif, Yedias Mikdash Tchil v'Saif. So it's actually each thing there's a total 6 again, because there's Yedias Hatoma, the knowing of Tuma at the beginning and the end. There's the knowing of it being Kodesh, and then there's the knowing of it being the mikdash. So there's three things going on here. You being tamei, you, the kodesh carbon, or the mikdash. So, and therefore, it really ends up being 6, right? Because each one is 3, which is 6. So, l'tameich tamnihaben. Really, if you want to go there, you can say it's 8. Da'ika tuma de kodesh, the tuma de mikdash, techil v'soif. So, holokasha. Shem tuma achasi. It's really has the same name as tuma. So mikol makom, okay, she's having, so then we're 6. So Rapapul Oilam Tamniam, notice 8. Our boy Kamaisa, the first 4, dual mycel in a carbon. It doesn't come to a carbon. There's not. You are not going to end up having to bring a carbon. Loy kachashiv. It's not mentioned. Arba basraisa, the 4 last ones, the mycel in a carbon kachashiv. Says Rashi, Arba basraisa, the ideas shibasof. Istu b'chol ha'torah she'en adam mevi chata zelim kin naidel lo shechata. So, make sure that's what we're looking at. Because you need to have yediyah also b'soif, and therefore once you have the yediyah b'tchil and the sof, that's when you have to bring carbon. So we're not going to bring cases where there's no carbon that's going to need to be brought. The Ikadar, some say the other way around. Amar Pablo Oyam Tam Nihabi, rule is 8. The Arba Kamaisa, the first 4, delays the Bechol Tarakula, it's not something which applies everywhere. Kachashim. So those we mentioned. Arba Masraisa, the Is the Bechol Tarakula, Loy Kachashim. The last 4 is not really much of a Chiddush, and therefore we don't really mention them. Look at Rashi. Lace the Bechol Torah. Sha'oichel Chayil B'shoigeg. If a person eats non-kosher fats b'shoigeg, if he loy noidala, even if he doesn't know al chatichazu regarding this piece, m'oilam, notice he never knew that it was chaylev, li'achar chila noidalo, but then afterwards he learns about it, so then chayev. So this is actually something in which is leisna b'chol Torah, because we know in the normal circumstance of the Torah that even if you didn't know at all at the beginning, but then there's Yediyah B'Sof, then you're going to be Chayev when it comes to, let's say, eating Chaylev. However, when it comes to Tumas Mikdash or Kedashav, you have to have Yediyah B'Tchil V'Soif. You have to have both. So that's actually a novel concept. But just to say that there's a concept of B'Sof only, and not B'Tchil, there's no Chiddush in that. Okay. All right. And of course, in that case, you wouldn't bring an Anol B'Yared. Okay. So, Boy Rapapa. Na'alma Mimenu Hilchos Tuma. Mahu. Let's say the guy actually knew he was Tumah, but he just didn't know all the details of what constitutes Tumah. He understands Tumah, and he knows that he touched something which is Tumah. So, Heichadam. Ilay Madol Yada. Isheretz Tumah. Svardet Tumah. He touched something, but he doesn't know what the dinim is. Is it a sheret? I know what I touch. I just don't know what is tameh. If you touch a sheret or you touch a frog. I know, of course, a svardeya, you may not like touching frogs, but there's no tumah by that. So zil karbi rav. I don't know what's the whole question over there. Go to your local rabbinic authority. Not even that. Rashi says tinakishal beis rabban karin hachaylud va'achbar v'tzav. You just ask any kid; they'll know which shratzim are matama. Hilchach ein zu ha'alama. That's not considered to be forgetting. V'yesh kan yediyah b'tchila. There's the yediyah at the beginning. Ukashachas hakodesh, and also while you're eating it, it's considered to be yediyah. Na'alma mimenu negiri shaina, and the first touch, let's say, became forgot. You forgot. Yesh kan yediyah b'tchila v'nel machareha ukashiyodel v'sov yehichayev. So, Oilam diyada b'tuma sheretz. Really, he understood that if a person touches the sheretz, it's possible to become tamei. Ukigayin dinaga b'ka'adasha. But he only touched something which was very small. It was only the size of a barley seed. Lo yada ka'adashi matama o lo matama. My. He didn't know if the fact that he touched ka'adasha, which is such a small measurement, if that taka would make him tameh. He knows that if it would be a huge amount of shrotzim, right, he would definitely become tameh. He's totally aware of that. And he knows that he did touch a sheretz, but he only touched kadasha, which of course we know is matama. But maybe he doesn't know that. He knows that he touched it, but is that considered to be like not knowing? But he always knew that he never forgot that he touched it. But he didn't know the halacha. So maybe the fact is, since he did know about it, that's considered to be yediyah b'tchila. Since he doesn't know these laws, then halamahi, it's considered to be a total state of forgetfulness. The ein kan yediyah b'tchila. So again, the question is there yediyah b'tchila in this situation where he knew he touched something, but he doesn't really know if he was tameh? He touched, right? So because he doesn't know the laws. So is that considered to be yediyah b'tchila? To be, then there'll be yediyah b'tchila, but yediyah b'saif to be able to have to bring a carbon of yard. So on that, the Gemara says teku. Boy, that's one question. Boy of Yirmiyah, ben bavel shol eretz Yisrael v'nel mimenu makom mikdash mahu. So let's say you're a tourist and you want to go to the base of Mikdash, and you don't really know. You've never been there before. So it's your first time there, and there's all these beautiful buildings. You don't know whether this is the makom mikdash, this exact location, and you're tameh, and you know that you're tameh, and you entered into a location, but you don't know the laws because you don't know your surroundings. Mahu alibinaman Rabbi Kiva the more yediyah b'tchila that you need yediyah at the beginning. Halu machayev al hel mikdash. So then you would say you're not chayev on hel mikdash. Rabbi Shmuel the machayev al hel mikdash, who says that you are chayav on hel mikdash, because we saw this machlokes before. Halu boy yediyah b'tchila. He says you don't need yediyah b'tchila to be chayav. L'tzricha liba de Rabbi the boy yediyah b'tchila. According to Rabbi, he says you need yediyah b'tchila. Machayev el mikdash, and he taka hold you can be chayav by yediyah if there's yediyah b'tchila v'soif when it comes to entering into the mikdash. The oimer, and we say like this: yediyah space rabbi shmo yediyah mai. If this is something in which you could learn in school, what's the din? Since he knew that somewhere in Yerushalayim, and he's in Yerushalayim, there is the Mikdash, so therefore that's considered to be Yediyah, and therefore it's Yediyah B'tchila. Maybe you would say that the truth is he doesn't really know, so there was never Yediyah B'tchila, because Yediyah B'tchila means I am Tameh, and I know I went into the Mikdash, right? So there was Yediyah B'tchila. So the question is does that count? Or maybe it's not, because he knew when you're Tameh you can't enter the Mikdash, but he didn't know exactly where that was. All right, we're going to stop there. Question 2. Beilu Trey cases Iboil on the Gemara in carbon the Tumas Mikdash Kadashav Iyadiyahi o Ha'olamahi. Either you touch the sheretz the size of a kadasha, and you don't know if a kadasha is matam or not. Is that yediyah b'tchila or not? Or a person went from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, and it was not known to him the makom mikdash. On that also we have a tegu. Okay. Let's see. Okay. TA, no. TB9. Let's see what it says here. Boira Papa, Nelmu Mimenu Hilchos Tuma Mahu. Ma Nelmu Mimenu Matzad Dechoshev Yediyah B'tchila. Okay, so that we actually did have, which is TB9. So the answer is, let me see what I wrote. I'm sure I wrote it correct. So, Hu Yada Dini Tuma. Avolo Yada Shahasheretz Metama Ka'adasha. Behu chayeshev ulai hatuma rak yois mizeh. Kivan shehu yada sheish dinim shel tuma ulai zen nikri yediyah batchila, and therefore he'd be chayim in a carbon? Or do we say no, since he didn't know the halachos, so therefore it's never had the yediyah batchila, and therefore he's not going to bring a carbon? Oh, be Ad kan.